personal inspiration? Who or what inspired you to be a lighting designer?
It's a lot of mix of things. I was always that kid taking stuff apart. I was always a tech kid. My parents throw away an old phone. I dig it out of the trash and find a screwdriver and open it up, see how it works.
Well, I kind of accidentally fell into lighting in middle school and high school. My school did not have a theater program really. I was the stage manager because it meant the person who did not act.
So I started off I always say I acted. I was never an actor. As a child, and I did summer stock and community theater. But my mom helped start this community theater, and we built the sets in our garage, and I would help do that. And then, we grew and grew and grew.
I distinctly remember, I have my undergraduate degree as a BA in theater arts. So I have a general theater degree.
Some of my first experiences were my middle school was a very large middle school, so they couldn't have, they didn't have the space or the time to have all the students meet for a weekly assembly, so they had a closed circuit TV station in the school. So I worked on the production team for that, learned a little video, learned a little sound there.
So I did everything. I ran lights, which were regular light bulbs in an actual tin can, a soup can. We joke about soup can lights, but this was actually a soup can. I put together the set, I did all the costumes, anything that was not acting, I was very happy to be part of.
And then I lit like a Miss New Hampshire pageant when I was in high school. And I thought, this is so bad, but I could make this so good. And that's how I got started.
I joined theater very late. And when I did start, I started primarily as a stage manager.
And then got into the theater program at that middle school as well, which was just a cafetorium kind of stage thing. And I applied to be the lighting designer. After I interviewed, they gave me the sound position, which I didn't even ask for. It's like, you're going to be our sound engineer, sound designer, sound engineer for the season. I'm like, I didn't even ask for that.
I went to college for psychology and biology and just did theater to kind of meet people.
When I was at school, I had a professor who taught drawing, but we've remained friends ever since. And he did buy me this book of Robert Wilson's work when I was just out of college. And Robert Wilson's work, the simplicity of it and the cleanness of it is very inspiring. It's not that I always do that, but it's definitely a less is more mentality and theory. And I think that's really important. If you can design with less and make it more, then you can do, over the top, bigger is better as well. But without knowing that less is more, it's hard to do the other well, I think, in my mind. So Robert Wilson's is a huge inspiration.
I got to lighting late, and I can recall this like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my living room in Cleveland, Ohio, and I had put in my VHS tape. So that's this rectangle thing that has two inserts that used to go into this player, and you had to push it down and it would just go and you hit play.
I had to wire up all 36 channels, go on stage and plug in 10 mics and actively mix, get the floor mics out during dance numbers, use the choir mics. 2 or 3 actors would be mic'd, so I'd have to actively mix. It was definitely a more challenging job, and the teacher recognized that I was more suited for the challenge rather than lights down, lights up.
I ended up sitting next to the lighting designer who was going to do the spring musical, and when everybody went around and introduced themselves, I was like, oh no, there are other jobs.
Years ago, this same professor, I called him because I won an award that another professor was nominated for, who told me I would amount to nothing. And I won the award. So I called my friend, I called Clyde to tell him that I had won the award, and he looked it up and he said, are you an idiot? I can't believe you did not. You won the award with Robert Wilson. We both won the lighting design award and set design award for a play I did in California and LA many years ago.
So I put in my VHS tape of Pink Floyd's Pulse, and that was it. I was done.
I switched schools from my 8th grade year to a school that had a much more robust theater. During our assemblies, I noticed principal speaking. I looked back into the tech booth. I see some friends I made up there talking and just ignoring the assembly. I'm like, oh, that booth is soundproof. I need to get up there.
They're all individual jobs. Well, I think I like lighting. It's something I always really enjoyed doing. And the woman next to me, Abby, basically said, great, you'll be my assistant.
Mark Brickman is a god. He took a band that stands on stage and plays their instruments so nonchalantly. Like David Gilmour could not be any less rock and roll. The guy just stands there, sings and plays impeccably, but just stands there. And Mark Brickman changes the whole feeling of that show.
So I got into the class, got into the technical design program at the high school, was in it all 4 years for my arts credit, and really enjoyed it. Got to do the lighting I'd been wanting to do since middle school, had a really robust lighting program.
And then I worked on every single show for 2 straight years and had to figure out how to tell my parents that I wanted to be a lighting designer.
Approaching my senior year, I was applying and looking at engineering schools because I'm just a math science-minded person, and that seemed to be a nice fit. Find some kind of engineering once you get to school to declare major. But my senior year, we got a new technical director at the high school who had his master's in lighting. And I don't think it had ever occurred to me that that was a whole career choice. That was something I could go to school for.
That was it. I was hooked. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know anything about it, but I knew that I needed to follow whatever that was so that I could do that too.
Throughout all my schools, to the chagrin of my counselor, my guidance counselor, applied at theater programs all over the country, ended up at DePaul, and just never left Chicago.